Welcome to episode 523 of Salsidoparanormal. And tonight I am talking about haunted places in the U.S. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me, at the podcast page. And that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO, actually, I think I'll start it over again. I messed up there. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. And always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you make it to the live streams on Discord or you listen on the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of the show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. As always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, as well as Liam Martin, host of the Exile Minds podcast, for producing my shows and putting them up on the station along with the music that you hear there. If you'd like to support the show, there are some different ways to do that. You can always share the show with others and rate and review the show on your podcast platform of choice. Also, I have some paranormal fiction and nonfiction books you can check out over on Amazon. Or you can sign up for my Patreon page, you can sign up for my Patreon page and join that at any membership tier level and get 1 extra episode of the show per month, true paranormal stories from the web, and so that you can help support in that way. Or if you just want to make a one-time donation, you can do that, as always, through PayPal. And all those links can be found in every episode description. And I think that takes care of all of that. Help is never expected, but definitely always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment as is needed to research materials, which really the more of those I can get, the better the shows will be in the future, to travel expenses in some cases. So any help would be appreciated. Especially if you want the show to do sort of cover more things or get into more things or maybe go more places, those are some of the best ways to help make that happen. So I think that covers all of that. This is going to be the last episode of the haunted places in the U.S., basically the first series of those shows, covering the state of Alabama. And then I'm going to take a break, but I'll get into that later on. So I have one more location to talk about here tonight. And as always with these shows, I always like to let everyone know, please check on basically just look around online. And if you're interested in going to visit the location, the articles that I share are just like individual articles. And they are, of course, released on certain dates, and they might not have the current information for whenever you happen to be looking at them or listening to this. And so I always recommend, please check out everything yourself. Make sure it's okay to go to these locations and find out what the schedules are and just everything else like that. Don't try to go there just based on the information in these articles, because things can change over time. And of course, always never trespass for a lot of reasons. This is going to be the last of these episodes for a little while. I'm going to do all the research for the next major section of this Haunted Places in the U.S. series, which will be covering the state of Alaska. I'll do all that first, whenever I have the ability to do so, just basically whenever works best for me. And then once I have everything put together for that state, then I will start the next segment or next mini-series, I guess you could say, within this greater series of shows on that state and the U.S. So in the meantime, we'll just be adding one of the book review episodes to each week's shows. So there'll just be 2 book review shows and then 2 of the True Paranormal Stories from the Web shows starting next week. So I think I took care of all that housekeeping, as they say. I have 2 articles here I'm gonna talk about tonight, and of course I'll include them in the episode description, as I always do. And so this has been a lot of fun looking through all these places in Alabama, and just so many different types of locations, forts and battleships and houses and businesses, just all kinds of places. It really does show that, to me anyway, that there's just, you never know. I think, as I said before, I think there's paranormal activity all around the world, just about at any given time. It's just a matter of what's happening and who's there to witness it, and if they're able to tell others about it. So that being said, this is definitely not a complete list of places in Alabama that have paranormal activity, because I don't think anyone can really make a complete list. Unless you just want to include every place, you might as well just put the map of the U.S. up on a screen and point at Alabama and then point at the U.S. and then just zoom out, and I think it's everywhere. So anyway, so these first of these 2 articles here is from, I believe it's, let me see here. It's onlyinyourstate.com. And the title reads, "You'll be haunted by the history of Fort Gaines, a Civil War site in Alabama." And so this was built apparently in 1821, and it's a historic masonry fort, and it sits on the eastern end of Dauphin Island, Alabama. It's best known for the American Civil War's Battle of Mobile Bay. And this article here has pictures, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And so now this is I guess maybe a piece of trivia here. It says, if you've ever heard the phrase, "damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," and wondered where it came from, it's a world famous command that was shouted at Fort Gaines by Admiral David Farragut. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. During the Battle of Mobile Bay. So again, it has pictures here, and now unfortunately, and I wonder how often this happens in places, due to ongoing shoreline erosion, the fort is one of the U.S.'s most endangered historic sites, according to this article here. But it's still well known, and for being one of the most well-preserved masonry forts in the country. And of course, in addition to the great history, it's also said to have a lot of paranormal activity going on there. And so let's get into that here. For example, it says several of the people that have visited the fort have seen apparitions of men dressed in military uniforms, and have felt cold spots and have heard low whispers while touring the site. So, sure, some of that could be residual, but then again, you never know unless you go there, I think, a lot. In one of the tunnels, the laughter of children has been heard. That's amazing. I wonder if they stayed there during, again, if they were the children of people that were working at the fort, and it's just some kind of residual energy of that going on there again. Hard to say. Says that the next time you visit Alabama's beautiful Gulf Coast, and especially the Dauphin Island area, can't talk tonight. Let's see, you might want to check out the fort, and whether you witness anything paranormal or not, it'll be a great experience, basically, which I would agree. It's really important to go and visit these sites for the history, because that is part of what causes or what can lead to activity. So, and let's see here. Looking at the rest of this, I think that covers everything for that article. So we'll go on to the next one here. And this is from, let me see here, hauntedhouses.com. And the title reads, let me see here. The title just reads Fort Gaines. And it says entities still are on duty and and behave accordingly. So, and it has pictures here, just like the last one did. Let me see here. In the first section, it has is description and history. And it mentions that there was a need for a southern coastal defense brought to light by the War of 1812. Congress, and so that's why the fort was made. Congress decided that the U.S. needed a fort or two along the southern coast, and one of these became the Fort Gaines, and to be part of this comprehensive system of national defense. So, one of this location, of course, was Dauphin Island for this fort, which had been in the past a sought-after strategic site by various military forces. It says France first established a small colony there. Spain also sought after the area, and of course Great Britain, who had used it as a platform to attack the city of Mobile during the War of 1812. And so in 1821, the construction began, which was supposed to be finished in 1858. So the government, now of course let's see here. I'm just reading this as I go here. So apparently the government didn't hire the most experienced people to build the site, and they turned out apparently to be not the brightest, I guess it says in the article here. It says engineers on the project built the fort so close to the bay that the water entered the structure at high tide. Okay, so that's what they're talking about there. That may be something that the last article mentioned coastline erosion as well. So so let's see here. Looking at the rest of this here. Apparently, the army tried to keep things going, and finally, in 1845, managed to get more funds to build the place. But so let's see here. Looks like eventually it began. It's kind of, I'm not following this article very well. Sorry about that. But anyway, so apparently from it says to seriously hamper enemy ships from attacking the fort from the western bay on the fort's vulnerable land side. It says that apparently a man named Totten, Totten, built a dry moat crossed by a drawbridge, which extends out about 35 feet from the fort's wall base. So had plenty of firepower for the time. And so all of the bastions, it says, are connected to the main courtyard through large tunnels, making everything accessible to personnel. It says about 500 feet from the entrance, there's several buildings that were constructed to provide services and shelter for a troop station there. So it says in 1858, the fort, which was nearly complete, was named after a War of 1812 and Indian Wars, according to this article here, military hero and skilled leader, General Edmund Pendleton Gaines, who had passed away apparently before that. By 1861, of course, this is getting into the U.S. Civil War, most of the work on the fort was done. And the rest were supplied by the Confederate, basically the Confederate forces there during the Civil War. And let's see here. Looking at the rest of the show, I think we're going to skip to the. So Fort Gaines became an important asset, again going into the Civil War there, to the Confederate forces. So apparently now it moves on to a little bit throughout time and the rest of some other things that happened there. During World War I, there was a coastal artillery unit garrison that was that stayed at the fort. And during World War II, the fort was used as a campsite for both the Alabama National Guard and as a base of the U.S. Coast Guard, who went after prowling enemy submarines, looking for merchant vessels in the Gulf of Mexico. And it says even today the Coast Guard still has a base there and uses it when they take part in crash rescue boat incidents. So now we're getting into the rest of this article here. History of manifestations. And that's, of course, talking about the paranormal activity there. It says the fort has seen a lot of action throughout the years. So it stands to reason that the people that passed away there, especially during their tours of tours of duty, in peacetime accidents or in battle, again, people that passed away there, they would be still there in some cases. So apparently there again, it's going into the different history of the place. There, it wonders. The article mentions who are the people that haunt the place. Is it the people that were stationed there, or the people that were attacking the fort at different points in time? So either way, the entities which now observe the living, says in the article, may not know that they are dead, and or they continue serving because they weren't ready to move on to the other side. So, looking at the rest of this here, trying to find the rest of the. Here we go. So, it says in the Battle of Mobile Bay, there were a total of 1,822 deaths there during that Civil War battle. And it doesn't talk a lot about the rest of the sightings there, but based on those numbers and then the other article, I would guess that there's a lot of things going on. So that's going to cover that article. Again, that one doesn't get into as much of the paranormal side, but does get into a lot more of the history, which is equally important. So that's going to do it for those articles, and again, for the state of Alabama for this series. And I'll take a break from the series and do all the research as I can over time, and start it again once I have everything ready for Alaska. And until then, that'll be it for now, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salsidoparanormal. Take care.